conversation with Christa for Odyssey
Yay!
Magazine Online. This is my favorite new feature that we're adding. And Noni, thank you for being the very first on the other side of the screen with me. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you
I
for having me.
love talking to you, as you know, anytime. So
Yeah.
let me introduce you because I know you don't use your Instagram much, but I just love the description of you, and then you can tell me if it still feels true or not.
Okay.
We have today with us Nonhlanhla Dlamini, otherwise known as Noni, affectionately known as Noni,
Yeah.
creative extraordinaire, dream alchemist,
Yes.
slayer of limits,
Yes.
nonconformist, Ndlovukazi, which for those who speak less isiZulu than me means queen, and is most certainly true.
Yeah.
How's that feel? Does that describe you well? Is there anything else we should know?
I think that was a projection of what I wanted to be when I wrote it, because I wrote that description 2017, 2018.
17 years.
Those are very difficult years for me, and I hadn't gotten into the space that I am in currently. And my company, Ndlovukazi Concepts, had just gone through, I had just been scammed. That's the long and the short of
Okay.
it. I got into a co-production with a guy, and he completely scammed us. And we were almost homeless. We were being kicked out of where we were renting at that particular point in time. And I didn't know I was going to get money. And I was blacklisted and everything. And I've always believed in the power of the word. And if you don't feel it at that particular point in time, put it out there so that you can grow into it. And it's interesting listening to it now because because I haven't been on Instagram in so long, I hadn't read those I hadn't read that description, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've actually grown into the things that I had put out back then.
To me,
And
that's who you
that's
are.
exciting.
To me, that's exactly who you are. We met on TikTok, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years
Yeah.
now. I don't know. Time flies.
Yeah.
Um, we are an example of having more in common than we do differently, I think.
Yes,
We are
yes.
both mothers right now of girls in grade 11, so there's a bonding point. Who look like the Bobbsey twins, which is very funny. Uh,
Yeah.
and we, I think, have both been to hell and back, like on a
Yeah.
repeat ticket, many,
Yeah.
many, many, many times.
Yeah.
Um, we've certainly both been scammed and lost businesses and those kinds of things. And I know that uh, while professionally now, you create both television and film content
Yeah.
um, at a really extraordinary level.
Yeah.
That's not the way things always were.
No.
So
That-
I'm curious about what you'd like to share about what took you from what I know was a fairly unconscious life at one point in time, certainly a self-medicated life, like most of us have lived, to the way you live now, where there's an awful old American English way of saying this is fake it till you make it. But it's
mm.
true. I mean, it's kind of a crude way of putting when you put out there what you want versus focusing on what you don't want, it comes to you. So you want to fill us in a little bit on the journey?
I don't know if this is gonna be too long.
We've got time, hon. It's a great
So
story.
from a very young age, I believed that I wasn't supposed to be born and I wasn't supposed to be here, based on how I was raised at home by my mom and my stepfather. My mom was incredibly abusive. She used to beat me almost unconscious, just for breathing. My mom just didn't like me. I think I reminded her of a darker time in her life. She felt that my birth robbed her of her life and her aspirations and where she wanted to get to. So I I would bear the brunt all the time of her disappointment, her anger, and so on. And then she went on to get married to my stepfather, and that wasn't a great time for her because she was a second wife in a polygamous marriage, and that was also just I experienced her wrath. And I had a strong belief that I was going to die before the age of 21. And I carried this with me throughout my childhood and my teenage years. And I attempted suicide, but I wouldn't die. I drank mercury, and the doctor was like, "You're supposed to have died." I didn't die, clearly. Like I tried so many things to just die, and it didn't work.
That's
Um,
such an overlap between us for the very same reasons. But
yeah.
when you know that transference thing is you're the eldest daughter, yes,
Yes, yes,
as am I. And when you grow up steeped in that, what else would you want to do but kill yourself?
yeah. So I was very angry, I was very pessimistic, but I was still loud, which is weird. I didn't shrink into a corner. I was still loud and I still wanted my voice to be heard and so on. So when I was 19, I used to go to church religiously. My mom is a pastor and my stepfather is a priest at the ZCC church. So I went to church religiously. And I found a place of belonging in church. And there are a lot of truths that I discovered within church. And I also got to deconstruct a lot of bullshit while I was at church because both can coexist. People think that it can either be one or the other, and you're like,
Exactly.
no, they
Exactly.
can both coexist. There was a pastor from the United States came to the church, and I was having a really, really low time in my life at that particular point in time because I had just been raped. And at the church, they said to me that God me as um was using my life so that it could be a testament to his glory. And I was like, God is bored. Why would God put me through so much shit in order to elevate himself? Like, how bored can you be? Anyway, so
And
this
how
guy's,
does that help, really? Like, how does that
I've been
possibly
asking
help?
forever.
So you want to have a horrible, does that lead people to want to have a horrible life so they can be a testament?
Like, I don't get it, but that's what they
I've
say.
never gotten that one either.
So this pastor stood there and he said to me, you have important things to say, and you're going to be a wordsmith. Of course, at that particular point in time, I didn't believe him because I was like, what the fuck are you on about? But it stuck. It stuck. The whole wordsmith thing stuck to me. Um, and then I grew up, met this guy, got married. I'm still not living in my own truth. Got married, got onto drugs, hated my marriage, hated where I lived, became a mom, hated being a mom, absolutely hated it. Escaped through alcohol and drugs and just being out of the country most of the time. I think I would spend 9 to 10 months out of a year out of the country because I did not want to be here. So I'd get jobs that took me
Okay.
outside of the borders of South Africa, just so that
Deliberately.
yes,
Deliberately. Yeah.
so that I don't live this reality because I didn't like it. After my daughter was born, I think when I was expecting my daughter, that was the first time that I felt like I was going to be giving birth to a tribe mate.
She
Because
is your second child. Your first
my
child's a
second
son,
child,
correct? Just to fill
yes.
in.
So when I was pregnant with her, I was heavy on drugs. And the gynae at that particular point in time was my friend. And she said to me, you can't have the drugs and the child. You need to choose one. Which one are you having? I have no aversion to Marie Stopes. I have no aversion to termination. So, and my friend knew that, even though she was my doctor, she knew that I had no issues with terminating.
You could make that decision either
I
way.
could, you know? And I was like, no, I'm going to keep this one. But she's a girl. And I need to make
You
some serious,
knew she was a girl without being told. You just knew.
yes. I was like, I have to make some decisions. I'm not going to bring another tribe mate onto this planet while I don't have my shit together. And I think that was the start of something happening. That's when I started realizing that I needed to shift my thinking. I needed to change the way I do things, which led to me getting off the drugs, which led to me leaving my marriage, which led to me to relocating from the township to
Mhm.
Northcliffe. We lived in a garage, a
Mhm.
friend's garage in Northcliffe. And that's when I started deconstructing my old beliefs and learning new ways of doing things, which has been a long, long journey. It's not instantaneous.
No, we're
Um,
talking 17 years this child's been on Earth
yes,
with every brain cell plus some extras intact, by the way. So
yes, yes.
your cleaning up act seems to have worked beautifully.
It did. It did.
She is a
She's
sharp cookie.
yeah, no, no. Because that was another worry that because I'd been on drugs for so long,
Yeah,
am I going to
yeah,
affect my baby? I
yeah,
don't. Thank fuck. It didn't affect her.
yeah.
So that's when the journey began. So you asked when did it begin for me? It began there when I was like, I'm
17.
birthing a girl child.
Yeah.
As a woman, I know how the world can be. I need to clean up my act. I need to be better. I need to be a better mother. I need to be a better person. I need to be a better individual for myself, for me, in order for me to have the capacity to raise her and her brother in a better environment. And that's for me is where it started.
In 2008, which
Yes.
is very interesting because that's also the year when I really decided, after my suicide attempt in 98, I stopped wearing masks and, gradually got better. My daughter, my one biological child, was 5 at that time.
Yeah.
So she was older, but um, 2008 is when I decided to be myself, like
Yeah.
fully, completely.
Yeah.
I wonder what was going on in the skies that year, because here we are on,
Actually, I need to
different
check.
sides of the planet. I'm wanting to be here. You're wanting not to be here.
Yeah. No, I need to check. I need to check what was happening because
You do
2008
need to
was
look at that.
yeah, it
You
was
need to-
huge. I became braver. I
Yeah,
quit working for other people as an
really.
employee. Yes.
Okay.
As
That's
an
when you.
employee, I became a freelancer,
Hmm.
which was a scary prospect at that particular point in time because I'd always worked for Urban Brew Studios and then I worked for Red Pepper Studios. So I had always been employed by somebody else. And I then realized at that particular point in time that these certain members of those companies were aware of my addiction, but they were okay with me remaining addicted to substances because I would just work
You
tirelessly
were
for them.
productive.
I was very productive.
So many industry. I mean, certainly the film and television industry, music
Yeah,
industry, all of that. And it's not. I did the same thing when my daughter was born. I became a consultant, and I was working in commercial real estate in
yeah,
development, and it was the same thing. Darling, I don't care
yeah,
how you get it done. Here's a checkbook. Go do it. We'll have
yeah,
tequila shots after. I mean, it was
yeah,
actually very much part of the culture, and I think as women back then, that was part of how we fit in. Was to,
yes,
don't you think there was some
yeah. You to join
peer
the boys
pressure or
club,
whatever? It was just the
yeah,
norm. Yeah,
yeah, to join the boys because it was a boys club, it still is, but
exactly,
it's a boys
exactly.
club. And in order to be part, you're cutting lines,
Hmm.
and you're drinking copious amounts of alcohol.
Copia
Um,
as part of your job. I saw
yes,
something when I was at the Mind Matter Summit. They were talking about, I always get the what is it, Gen Z, the new generation, how they don't necessarily believe that they need to show up on Friday nights for drinks as part of their job. It's outside their hours. But for us,
it was a
that
thing.
was normal. Lake house parties
Mhm.
on the weekends, whatever,
Mhm.
whatever. It was just, we didn't even question it.
No, we didn't. We
But
didn't.
women were only just getting our feet in the door of, as particularly of these more peripheral, not maybe banking and some of the industries that let women in earlier that are more
Mm.
cerebral. It's interesting. So how does your, I mean, I have my own ideas, but I'd like to hear yours. How does your work, obviously, I believe that creativity is like consciousness in motion and
Yes,
action.
it is. It
And
is.
with Odyssey now, our new tagline is exploring consciousness. I want it to be a more active kind of
Mm.
invitation to people. So you worked in a really creative industry
Yes, I still do.
your whole life, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and how does do you see like a parallel between your own waking up, so to speak, and the shifts that you made, deliberately, and your work? And did it change your work? Did your work
Yeah.
support it? I mean, other than the drinking part of the job and all of that,
Yeah.
other than that culture, did it support it in ways?
It's interesting that the act of creating is a very feminine because you're birthing.
Sure.
You're throwing forward, it's futuristic. You create something
Mhm.
that doesn't currently exist, and the only way to do that is to reimagine and put it out there in order for it to be a reality, because that's what creation is. It didn't exist
Especially for
before.
television, because you're
Yeah,
literally projecting like a series. You're
a
literally
series,
projecting out.
yes, you're
Yeah.
putting it out there. It never existed before, and suddenly you've
It's a
made it
whole
into,
world.
yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Um, And for a long time, the narrative, and it's still happening now, the narratives that we portray on screen were not there to engender growth and healing and support and expansion in positive consciousness. It almost seems like, well, like we are trying to, we are driving the narrative to consumerism and degenerate, and like it still happens now.
Capitalism for sure. I mean, in
Yes,
every form. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So I thrived in that before my conscious, because I had to consciously make the decision that this is not what I want for myself, and this is not what I want for the
Yeah.
world, and this is not what I want to be remembered for. I don't want to be known for putting content that destroys. I didn't want to do that anymore, which is one of the reasons I had to focus on my company, because I wanted to create content that engenders healing and progression and awakening and reimagining a different world from what it is. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm saying it's different. And we can reimagine differently. We can. So that's when the trajectory of my career changed, because I moved away from trash
Just the name of your company. It's what Ndlovukazi Creations is
concepts.
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 I
Yeah.
mean, just that. So you're embodying the feminine,
Yes.
that aspect that you talked about. And look, television in South Africa, which follows television everywhere else. The soapies were very useful to me when I first came to South
Yeah.
Africa, because it helped me with language, it helped me with customs, all of that. And I got addicted just like everyone else. And then I realized I didn't want to be, then I really narrowed down what I was watching, um, because so much of it was so violent and, all of that. But it helped me. I was spending a lot of time in Ananda. I was spending a lot of time in different townships, and it serves a purpose, I think,
Yeah.
in making people feel not alone. But I wish, and I think what you're working on is, I wish there were more an invitation, um, to move out of that, to steer
Yeah.
out of that. Like when you drive in snow in the north, um, the way you do it is because you have no traction, so you
Mm.
steer with the skid, and then you gradually, slowly steer out of it to get to ground where you have traction. And I would love to see television here do more of that, like to bring more hope and more just inspiration, I guess, for
Yeah.
moving away. And I
Yeah.
wonder, is that what you're headed towards? It seems like.
That's where I'm headed towards. Unfortunately, the industry is taking long to catch on. And I understand why, because trash sells, but trash only sells.
Advertisers, everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get millions upon millions of viewers when it's trashy. But I also am a firm believer that art is not only there to reflect what is happening, art
Exactly.
can also influence where we are headed. So yes, we
Exactly.
can show the rubbish that is happening, but we need to start slowly injecting.
That's steering.
Yes, we need to start going, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, this is, but this is also possible. We can do both. You
In
know, and it's such a difficult thing to straddle in my industry because if you're looking to only do positive content, the probability is that you're going to starve, and that
Is
is
it
a
also hard as a woman to get more innovative things done? Is that still true?
it's very true. It's very, very true. And as women, as creative people, as women in the creative path, I'm seeing that more and more of us are starting to band together. We're
Hmm.
starting to come together and go, but we can. We can change the narrative and so on. For a long time, it was difficult to come across other producers and collaborate. Now it's becoming a norm
So
for
the
us.
little stars are starting
Yes,
to
we are
connect and make bigger.
starting to band together. So another female producer will say, please, can you come onto my production and do, and I will go. Even if the budget is not phenomenal, I will
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
because it's a woman and I want her to succeed. And I will do everything in my power to help that project become a success. And and I'm seeing it more and more that women are just banding together. I've been helped just recently by a phenomenal woman who also has her own production company, and she came in and she showed us a different way of doing things as Ndlovukazi because she's brilliant in that aspect, you know. And if she calls me and says, "Can you come?" and I'm gonna
You're
go.
there. You're
I'm
there.
gonna go.
If you called me and needed me to do something,
Yes,
I'd be there in a heartbeat. Everything
yeah.
else would stop.
So we're
Um,
slowly starting to come together, and I feel that it's a consciousness thing
does
within
the
this.
woman, it is conscious. Okay, so I'm
Yes.
curious about what you think about this. When I first came to South Africa, remember I came for a month
Yeah.
to visit and then went away for a month and came back and stayed. And at the end of that first month, my last couple days were up in Mpumalanga at a place called the Good Work Foundation,
Mm,
which was founded by and is run by a wonderful white South African woman named Kate Grock.
mm,
Kate's family looks much like mine. It's actually more mixed. Um, Most of her staff is Black. She is fully embodying this idea of um, more similarities than differences, and how do we work together, and helping people steer out of the way South Africa's gotten stuck, and we, as South Africans, we get stuck. So she has these digital learning centers. I think there are 6 of them now. They're phenomenal. In each of them, they have a man-made but really beautiful baobab tree,
mm.
and they meet under it. So it's proper Indaba.
Yes.
And at the end of every meeting in this circle, which is a big circle, she has a lot of people there, uh, she says, disrupt, disrupt, disrupt.
Mm,
And when I heard that at the end
mm,
of my, whiz bang 1 month tour of South Africa, finally, after 50 years of wanting to be here, um, it changed everything for me.
mm,
And it has become the heartbeat, I think, under everything that I do. Our
mm.
family disrupts.
Yeah.
My name disrupts. Um, what you and I talk about online
Yeah.
disrupts.
Yeah.
Um, how do you see that happening? Is that what you're trying to do too? Because disrupt is an interesting word. It's definitely a very active word, but it's not necessarily confrontational, and that's kind of the beauty of it, I think. I mean, I definitely see you doing that.
Krista, I don't think I don't see myself as actively trying to disrupt. I've I s- I've noticed that I can walk into any space and minding my own business and just breathing, and my presence will disrupt that space.
Exactly.
I
I
don't
see
do
that
anything. So I don't walk out in my head going, I am about to go into space and
either.
disrupt. I exist. And
Just by my mere existence. And I
yes,
wonder,
just by
because I
breathing,
see that in you too.
yes.
Yes.
And I gather it's because of the piercings and the tattoos and the way I sound when I speak, the way I don't just keep quiet when I'm because I will not just keep quiet. I will ask, you know. Um, I think when I was younger, um, it was an effort. I
Yeah.
would make an effort to get into a space and be seen and be loud and so on. And I'm grateful for that girl. I'm grateful that she was that person. Um, but I don't have to anymore. I realize that my mere presence is enough. I've noticed I walk into spaces and I just breathe and it shifts. And I think that comes from a place of knowing. I walk around with a sense of no, I know intricately who I am and what I stand for, and I don't even have to open my mouth and it is just evident. I don't know how to explain it. I just
It's a
be. And
phenomenon. It's a
for a
phenomenon.
long for a long time, I feel that I was a human doing
Yes.
until I got to a place where I understood that I can just be a human being. I can just be. I just be, and shit will shift. And that had to come from a paradigm shift. I had to do things differently. I got tired of doing and acting, and I was like, no, can I just be?
Well, in doing this is like such, it's the highest thing that it goes on lately inside of me, in my mind, in downloads I get, all of that is this. In doing, to me, is coming to mean being who you were told to be.
Yes.
You and I both, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were told to shut up every day of our young lives
Yes.
repeatedly. And
Repeatedly.
here we both make our livings now talking, which I find both very funny and
Yeah.
oddly satisfying. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a deliberate thing on either of our parts. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I mean, nobody wants to wake up one day and decide, I want to stand out like a sore thumb, like, like I do. And yet I'm so grateful
Mm.
for being, for being who I am. Doing, I think, is like coloring inside the lines.
Yes.
Being, we are, our souls are just amorphous, you know, translucent, cool, jellyfishy kind of things.
Mm.
And yet we're asked to live in, you know,
Boxes.
so many boxes, so many
Mm.
boxes. We both grew up as girls at a time that girls had a lot of limits on us. I'm older than you by some, but I was telling my daughter, who's 16, that when I was her age is when women could get credit cards in the US and could
Mm.
begin to think about, I'm not even sure you could get a mortgage or a bond yet, or, maybe a
No, you
car
couldn't.
loan. That you couldn't sign any, you had to have a husband or a father or an uncle or
Or
something
yeah,
sign for
a
anything.
brother.
And, of course, they look at us when we say this like we're
Yeah.
dinosaurs, but it
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago. We're not
No,
that
it
old.
wasn't. It wasn't. It was just now
I
in the 80s, guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was in high school in 79. So I think that happened in the States in 77, at least where I lived. It was probably, I've lived in a pretty liberal state.
Yeah.
So probably Utah probably came in the 80s. Um, Not to pick on Utah, but this is the thing. So my question for you is, I'm sure you get this from people as I do. And when we've done like TikTok lives together, sometimes it comes up. How did we get here? How, I tell people that it's not an elegant process.
No, it's not.
It's quite
Definitely not.
messy. But what do you think? I mean, how do you answer someone when they say, okay, well, how do I get to be who I am? How do I get to be instead of being instead of doing?
I got tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got tired of hating my life, of hating where I lived, of hating. I hated so many things about myself, about my life, about my circumstances, and I got tired about complaining about. I just got tired. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. What can I do? And coincidentally enough, that's when a lady by the name of Kagiso Msimango wrote a book called The Goddess Boot Camp. It hadn't come out as yet. She refuses to have another print, so you can't find a physical copy anyway. I'm so mad at her, but it's been years. She's not gonna do it again. Like she's had two prints and that's it.
We'll
But
add that along with your social media and things in the post for
yeah,
this, so that people can at least try to find something about it.
yeah, but I know it's on Kindle and stuff, but it was the
Mhm.
Goddess Boot Camp. I was in my car. I worked at Urban Brew Studios that time. I was I was in my car driving to work. She was on Kaya FM that morning. I had just cut my 2 lines of cocaine, as I always did in the car, because
You
I
were
would cut
chipper.
2 lines and put them under the steering wheel because there was a little compartment. And I took a hit in traffic because Joburg traffic is phenomenal. And this woman gets on the airwaves and she goes, there are only two types of women on earth, goddesses and doormats. And I park on the
Oh,
side of the
let's
road.
let's just okay, let's say that again. There are only
Two
two.
types of
There's a
women.
wake-up call, hey?
Yes,
Two
like
types
they
of
are
women
called
on earth, goddesses
goddesses and doormats.
and doormats.
And she starts asking these questions on the airways. I'm weeping, weeping on the side of the road. It's traffic. I'm high. I'm like, the fuck? I'm a doormat. Ah.
As I said, it's not elegant.
It's It's not. And then I get to work eventually, and Three Talk with Nolene was still on air at that point in time. And I think their guest had pulled out or something. So the producer of Three Talk at that point was Msizi Nkosi. And he's like, babes, we were all high, both Msizi and I were buzzing. So like, oh God, we don't have a guest for Three Talk this afternoon. I'm like, I heard this woman on the radio. Her name is Kagiso Msimang. Find her. So we phone Kaya FM. They give us her number. Drrr. Long story short, she comes on Three Talk. And I just
Gets
sit
hit
there.
by the two of you like
Yes. And this woman is speaking harsh facts that just keep hitting. And she's like, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, buy this book. I think I was the first person to buy that book. I went to exclusive books that same afternoon and they had to pull it out of the boxes. It was still in boxes. And I
no,
was
I
like,
need it now. I
I
need it
right
now.
now. And they're like, no, ma'am, we haven't put them on the shelves. I don't
Done.
care. I don't care. Give me the book. They gave me that book. I stayed with that book for 3 months. Don't read it. Then there was an ANC conference in Mangaung. At that conference, when I'm supposed to be directing content and shooting with my crew, I sat in the hotel room the whole time and I went through that book from cover to cover because you work through exercises and so on. When I came back from there, I think that was when things started shifting for me because I started understanding that you need to get to a point where you are so sick of your life that you have to do something about it. I wanted nothing else more than a shift in my life. I was tired. I was tired. I was tired of waking up in the morning and doing lines. I was tired of waking up
You
groggy
were
and
done.
tired.
You were done.
Like, I was like, I don't want this life anymore. I was tired of being so overweight that I can't breathe when I'm taking just a walk through the mall. I was tired of occupying that body. I was tired of the way I dressed because I was not happy with my body and I was
You were
Krista,
hiding,
I was
literally.
tired.
You
I
were
was tired.
literally hiding. I think this point in time comes about either through addiction of some sort and getting to the
Yeah.
point where, you've lost yourself like this and you get tired of it. It's all about getting tired of it.
Yeah.
Or for me, it was physical illness as well as anxiety and depression. And I think the two were very interwoven. I literally was sick and tired,
Yeah.
and was mismedicated and became suicidal. And for me, that book was actually while I was in the hospital being titrated off the drugs, they flooded me with memories, and most people don't survive it. So that was trying to kill myself was a normal response somehow.
Yeah.
Um, it was they put me in the art room And I spent hours and hours and hours and hours a day. And a lot of my memories of trauma were pre-verbal. So I drew them. I drew like I
Mm,
was 35 years old. I drew like a child, 37 years old. I drew like a child.
mm,
Um, and then for some people, it's leaving a container that they're in, like an extreme religion, like maybe even academia, or a specific a family business that they've been groomed, to do. Sometimes they're at the CEO level and they just wake up one day and like because they've been trying to be something they're not. So
mm.
it can be messy in different ways, but there's always some catalyst, isn't there? There's
Yes, there
always
is.
something. Um,
And
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 and you
based
have
on
to hit
that,
that. You have to hit
you
it.
have to hit that first. But
Yeah.
after you've hit it, Krista, because a lot of people hit that, they hit
Mhm.
that point of I'm tired
Yeah.
of this shit, and then they don't move. They
They
don't do
freeze.
anything about
They
it.
freeze. They get
Yes,
paralyzed.
yes.
Yeah.
So after you've hit the I'm tired of the shit, you need to start finding things that help you navigate getting out of that. And it is not pretty. I mean, I was beaten half to death by my then husband because I was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because they're like, how dare you?
How much essay caused deaths? How many of them are when people are leaving? The high percent. I mean, it's a huge. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but it's the highest percentage by a long shot. Is when
Yeah,
people are trying to leave.
yeah.
Even if it's not that kind of a violent situation,
Mm. It was the first time he hit me. He
because
had
the
never hit me
frustration
before.
level and the fear in him of you leaving.
Yeah.
Um, my ex-husband in America, when I wanted to leave, which was 3 years before I eventually did, and coming here was part of that, or staying here was part of that. Um, he collapsed, and his reaction was not violent, but rather he collapsed in a way that I had never. We've been married 25 years. I'd never seen that happen with him. Um,
Hmm.
there's generally some big reaction. Other people and the world
Hmm.
prefer, and it goes back to capitalism and colonization and all of that, they very much prefer that we stay contained
Yes.
and that um, we're like sheep. If people live in fear, and I think the bottom line on fear is we fear not belonging because we're
Yeah.
pack animals and that's where it is.
Yeah.
Then, and that's a primal, you
Yes.
know, animal level kind of thing within us. So here's the last big thing I'll introduce. You and I both are pretty open about the fact that we're considered spiritually gifted,
Yes.
one way or another. And
Mm.
for me, I'll let you speak for yourself, but for me, that's been a lifelong thing. That was present when I was young, and I was literally beaten because I grew up in a culture where ancestors weren't recognized, and in a family that went back to Salem during the witch trials and left, started a whole new town to stay away from that. And there was just lineage stuff about, you know, witchy anything, anything outside the box. So I'm curious about your experience of that and whether you see it as I do, is that those gifts are more of what human beings are really truly meant to be, but in order to belong, we have to subject those things, or I'm sorry, submerge those things.
I grew up in a family where my mother's mother was an inyanga. Um, but I think the relationship between my mom and her mom was so toxic that my mom completely shut out that
Right.
aspect of our family because they also had a very toxic relationship. My grandmother, I remember my grandmother beating my mom and my mom bleeding. I have
And
the
then
memory
your mom
did
became a
that.
Christian pastor.
Yes. And she
So
became a
she
Christian.
went,
Yeah. The complete. So my grandmother was a drinker, a smoker, an inyanga. So a lot of my personality traits reflected my grandmother. And my
thank you.
mom was a extreme of Jesus is
Mhm.
Lord. I mean, my mom currently is doing revival things.
Still,
Yeah, yeah, she is
that's
currently.
who she is. Has chosen.
It's her life, and as long as she's happy.
Yeah.
Um, so so my grandmother opened me up to this world of being able to interpret dreams, being
Mhm.
being able to see the signs, understanding that when you have a headache, there is a herb in the garden for to
Yeah.
help with the headache. You know, my grandmother taught me all of these things,
Which is
but
taking self-ownership and
yes,
not looking outside of you
yes.
for
So my
um,
grandmother would say things like, every ailment that is on planet Earth, God created a cure for it. You don't need to go to a medical doctor for everything. There is a herbal cure, and you're probably walking past it as a flower. You just don't
on your
know.
way to the clinic.
Yes, you just didn't know that this flower
Yeah.
actually will resolve this challenge of yours, you know? And I had, because I didn't live with my grandmother, when I'd come back home, because we're in suburbia, we were one of the few black families. We can't look too black. You can't be very black. You must be, there must be a certain level of whiteness.
Not
And
disrupt, disrupt, disrupt.
yeah, so my parents loved that. There's a
Yeah.
certain degree of we are better blacks because we live in suburbia and stuff.
Mm,
Um, I had to shut that out. So for a long time, I saw it as a curse.
mhm.
My ability to read such like literally read situations because it's a gift. It's a gift. You walk into and and then later on as I grew older and stuff, I then realized that people interpret these gifts differently. So
Yeah.
some people are gonna come into my realm and they're like, no, because you're gifted this way, you must sit in Ndumba and burn
And,
impepo and
yeah,
wear these cloths
and
and do
wear cowrie shells
and
and yeah.
you must do that. And then, but it didn't resonate with me. I was like, guys, I have these abilities, but they don't require me to do all of these things. And they're like, no, that means you're not the truth. Your gifts are not the truth because why aren't you beating drums? And I'm like,
Mhm.
because my shit doesn't get activated like that. But it
Mhm.
was only in my late 30s and early 40s where I was like, you know what? My shit can be activated just sitting with a glass of water and lighting a candle.
Candles. What is it about candles?
You
And a
know,
glass of water. That's
yes,
exactly what I use now. You know, so when I came to South Africa and was in the very rural, up in the mountains outside Swaziland, all of that, Baba Wam, Baba Gumede, my father, you know, who's comes from a long lineage of Inyangas and Gobelas and Sangomas, and he'd been prophesied 50 something years before that I would come home and I did my stint of the river and the bones and the, you know, all of that. He saw that I was already all that. He called my tarot cards my American bones. Uh,
yes,
so, you know, but I was using those abilities and I did go through all that. There are pictures of me on the internet and, you know, full regalia. And people questioned, some people hate that, you
yeah.
know, the cultural appropriation and all of that. I don't consider it that way. Well, that's another conversation about that.
And spirituality is spirituality is spirituality is spirituality
Well,
is
and past
spirituality.
lives, I believe most of my past lives, I looked far more like you than I look like me now. I'm not sure what this was about, and I've put in the order for it not to happen again anytime soon. But anyway, my point is, and I this may bring you some comfort too, is that he said that we were coming now. There was a group of us coming now who are meant to be the bridgers, who
Mm,
are meant to bridge the traditional ways with the modern world
mm.
and create. And in COVID, that's what I ended up. Am I mistaken?
You got stuck there.
Sorry. During COVID, I ended up because I'd always, because of the way I look, I'd always ended up trying to do things out of, you know, Babas and Dumba, you know, the mine and, you know, the whole thing. And then during COVID, people wanted me to do sessions, consults on video.
Yeah.
So, you know, here I am on Zoom with, you know, the old Mkulu, you know, going, you know, with the dogs and the chickens and the everything else. Um, and then that's only when it hit me what he meant.
Mm,
Um, and I feel like because you're a creative, is this, one of the things that I love about us is that we have very similar footprints in terms of creativity, intuitive, all in
mm.
this ability to speak in a way that, for whatever reason, we walk into a room and people listen. Um, Still cracks me up. I see it as all kind of one thing.
It is one thing. It
Yeah.
is one thing. I speak to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, but when I went to the Mkhulu to consult with the Mkhulu there, he said that I needed to go and slaughter a goat and Krista, I say this all the time. If the vessel that receives the message only has one viewpoint on how to deliver the message, they are going to default to their own version of if you are a
One
sangoma,
way it must be.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're a sangoma and all you know is how to do it this way.
Hmm.
You're only going to tell me how to do it this way because that's all you know.
Exactly. All
But
you've
if
known, all you've experienced.
that's all you've ever experienced, you were in Gungundlovu, in a hut, and you went to the river and you lit a fire, that's all you know. If I am spiritually gifted and I come from a city, Santon, and
Hmm.
I know that I can I can deliver the exact same message,
Hmm.
but the only difference is that it's going to be via a WhatsApp video call
With
and
a candle and a glass
with
of
the
water.
candle, blah blah blah. And the Mkhulu in Mgungundo was going to say you have to light a fire at the bottom of the thing and do this at 3 a.m. And I'm like, actually, you need running water, and the running water you currently have is a shower.
And isn't it
So
better to do something rather
yes,
than, and we also, and I think this is the Western influence, we make it elitist in that you
yes,
must have the money to buy a cow or
yes, you don't.
a goat
Because what's the message behind,
and
like,
to
what's the
sneak them into your
intention
suburb
behind it?
past the neighbors.
Yes. And I always ask people, I'm like, yes, I hear they said that you needed to go to a river and go. I hear you. I'm not saying don't do it, but what is the intention behind it? What were you, why were you supposed to be? And they're like, it's supposed to be a cleansing and running water, blah, blah. I'm like, so can we run a shower
Or
and have,
smoke.
can we have, because it's supposed to be the ocean, can we fill a bath with salt?
Well, sea salt,
Sea
ocean
salt,
salt.
so that will it achieve the same thing? And more often than not, it will, because it is
Yeah, I
the
find that.
intention behind it. It is it's the river, the all of those things are the vehicle that is supposed to get you to the healing.
And then it becomes more accessible.
Yes.
And in the end, it begins to, which I think is my life mission, I don't know about you, normalize these practices. Spiritual, African spirituality, and then, I've spent time with the Maori in New Zealand and, but indigenous and American
Indigenous, yeah.
Indian as well, indigenous spirituality traditions are very base to human beings. We
Yes.
all need to know that there are people whose shoulders we rise on. We all
Yes.
need to know that we have spiritual ancestors who cheerleaders, so to speak. We all need to know that the moon, that our bodies line up with the moon if we allow them to, particularly women. We all need to know that water and smoke and the elements
Mm.
have a great deal to do with being human. And I, with the magazine, and there's so many ways, so many, a million ways. I'm so grateful. Like I get this chance to bring all of these things to
Mm.
light. And I truly hope it makes it more accessible. I'm so glad that you're doing that too, because
Yeah.
there's so many people who don't, for example, who don't dedicate their children or welcome their children to earth, those first few ceremonies
And
until
and
they're
this was
adults because they don't have the money for a cow.
And it was such a norm previously for a baby to be dedicated and to be welcomed into the human existence with just ash, guys, ash,
I
umlota.
I do that with fire and ash, and I will tell you, every baby that I've done that for, and some of them have been 4 or 5 months old by the time they find their way to me, all of them, number one, have this gigantic, huge poop and clear out their systems. And to the point that I warn their parents now, like to bring extra blankets and towels and things. And they sleep better, like markedly better. Babies need to be welcomed to earth. It only makes sense. Like, here you are, put those tiny feet on the ground. Here you are now. I wonder, do you have any hopes of bringing any of this through your work?
I do. If
I'm
you
hoping.
want,
Please tell me
no,
yes.
no, I do. I do it already. So,
Good.
a lot of programs that I end up directing, if people have eyes, they will see. Because we'll do there'll be an argument, and then we're like, but you have to sit around the fire, and you can't leave the fire until everybody has spoken their truth, and you've lifted in the fire, and you have to get ash and then in a thingy and drink
And been heard,
the
and
water,
everyone's
you
been
know?
heard. Yeah.
So I bring them in. It's just that it's sexy. It just looks sexy. People are just like, oh, that was nice shots. I'm like, no, it's actually a ritual. I it's an
But it makes a nice shot if you get the lighting
thing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no. So I do infuse those kinds of things in my work, but I just make it look sexy, and
Yeah.
I hope it keeps permeating in the audience's mind that, wait a minute, um, that's weird. Why did they calm down after doing that? Because you're like, because it's a
As a
ritual.
witness, they see because it's a bigger picture. As a
Yeah.
witness, they can see what happens and then the result. I
Yeah.
love that.
So
Um,
I've been doing it for years to find ways of just put guys, when we light candles in scenes, and there are certain scenes, especially when it's reality TV, I know I'm not just lighting candles for the lighting. I'm like, so this requires this to happen, but I don't have to announce it and say, oh, now I'm doing this is a ritualistic thing. I just light it. I'm like, oh, that
it
looks
doesn't
great.
have, yeah, it doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't
No.
have to be, okay, we are doing this, and then
Yes.
that will have this result, and then this. It's all about that reciprocity of energy and flow and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, we have been chatting for an hour and could go on for
I didn't
hours,
even notice.
but I know I just looked. But I want to uh, thank you, number
Thank
one,
you.
for chatting with me and for being just another light that is one of my favorite to connect with anytime.
Yeah.
And two, for everything you bring to the world,
Thank you.
Wande.
Sometimes it's so heavy.
It well, and so we need, like we gotta, if it's dark, we need to turn the lights up, hey?
Yeah.
Um, and to tell you that I'm hoping we'll see for winter 2026, because the magazine will have 2 print issues a year now.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm hoping to do a special issue in winter of 2026 on women. And I very much hope that you'll be part of the planning of that and the execution of that. And
I'm
one of these
here.
days, let's get a group of women together and do a retreat. That's
Yes.
once we get this magazine up and running. Well, we get me up to speed on all the technical things, and I learn those business. Then let's get some women together and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That's one thing I miss about. We used to have a group on Facebook. It was called the Goddess Boot Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was just we had all these I miss that. We had gatherings. We used to have just
Why don't
women
we
gathering
why don't we
every
try and bring
month.
that to the world again? We can do
Yeah.
that. Surely
Every
between
month there used to be a goddess gathering.
let's
Women
work
those.
on that. Let's
Yeah.
we will.
All right.
Bless
Thank
you,
you
my
so
friend.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you. Be awesome. Keep shining. Keep shining.
always.
Yeah. Sharp, sharp.